Watch me ride.
Tips for moving. And I think the number one tip I have is get organised. And I mean that in multiple ways. If you know you're going to move and you've got a bit of warning, the first thing to do is clear out crap you don't need. You do not want to be moving stuff that you don't need at the other end. Because not only then are you transporting more stuff, you have to pack more stuff, you also then have to get rid of more stuff at the other end, and it just causes you problems. Thankfully, we did do that. And the only tip run we had to do was to throw away stuff that the previous tenants had left there, and also some of our household rubbish, because they filled the bins before they left and they weren't put out. So we didn't actually have a bin for the first week or so to use, which was very annoying, but you know, happens. The other thing is, when it comes to packing, what I made sure we did was we put stuff in boxes together that made sense. You know, people often do like kitchen box, bathroom box, stuff like that. But get a notebook and have a quick description of all of the things in that box, particularly the stuff that you need to know, and then mark each box with its own unique code. So you could do like kitchen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you'll know exactly what's in each box. Doing that meant that there wasn't a moment that when we needed to find something that we couldn't just go, oh, I know where that is, and going to that exact box. Of course, this is if you're packing yourselves. I don't know how you'd ever find anything if someone else packs for you. Pheasant. Very calm pheasant. Busy pecking away in the bush. Another one is inform as many companies, utility companies, and all of those things that you need to do, insurance companies, as ahead of a time as you can, even if it's just to give them warning. I had a car right up my arse. I know it's a 60, it's my fault. They're not there anymore. One of the things obviously you have to do is you have to change the address on your logbooks for your bikes and your driving license, which is easy to do online and it's free, and I just nutted a big fly. One of the confusing things of that though is if you're setting up your government one pass or whatever it was for, you know, for signing into it, it says what's your current address. Well, if you've already moved, your current address doesn't match what's on your driving license, and then it causes a problem. What they actually mean is, what is your current address on your driving license? Because that caused me a bit of an issue. And then when I tried to call them to find out, because I didn't realise that's what the issue was, when I tried to call them, I had a Nigerian guy on the phone, and I have no problem with, another fly in the eye, with talking to anyone of any nationality. But his accent was so strong, and his grasp of English was so poor, that I actually couldn't get answers to my questions because I don't think we were communicating properly. As I say, I'm good with accents, you know, thick Irish, Scottish, Indian, even, you know, all sorts of different accents, but how he got through the vetting process of being able to actually communicate, I do not know. Now, this is not me, you know, bloody foreigners or something. I'm just whatever, I don't care. I know they probably outsource to another country anyway, but you kind of have to be able to answer questions, be able to communicate in English, to be on a phone doing that job. Blew my mind. Another one is if you move into a place and they've taken the old curtains. I mean, I don't get why they took the curtains, unless you had the exact same size windows. They're going to be no bloody use to you. But they took the curtains. Order the curtains as early as you can, because we had to end up making like makeshift curtains from old bed sheets. Now, I was able to get some old bed sheets from my old place because we're still clearing out my mum's place, and that's one of the things that we had to go through, was throwing away all the old stuff in the airing cupboard. So I was like, well, there we go, I've got a couple of bed sheets, I've repurposed as curtains temporarily, and and then I've got the sheets for the garage, or rags. Another tip that we did that worked out great was run your fridge and freezer down to nothing, as little as you possibly can. If you're getting to the point that you're having to literally okay, we're moving 3 days, buy enough food for 3 days, all we had was one small box of condiments basically that we chucked a couple of ice packs in, and that was great because it meant that we didn't have food to worry about, stuff going off or defrosting. That is a massive thing. Do that. Another thing is part of the reason for this is that when you get to the other end, you cannot plug your fridge freezer in for at least 4 to 6 hours, basically because the refrigerant gets chucked around the system, and if you turn it on before that's settled, you can do some damage to the motor, the pump in it, which will reduce the lifespan of your fridge freezer or may even break it. And then when you get to the other end, one of the first things you need to do is buy some food so you've got some food to cook. I know it's really tempting, and a lot of people probably just live on takeouts for a week. We can't afford to do stuff like that. We allowed ourselves one takeout once we were unpacked and everything was done, and it was a week or two in, so it was the little celebration of I think we're mostly there now, and that was worth it. I mean, if you can afford it, fine, do it, but my god, you'd spend so much money if you live on takeouts. Another thing is, visit the new property as soon as you can. Take measurements, work out where things can and can't go, so you're not in the process of oh, maybe that should go there, maybe that should go there. I don't know. I had all that in my head done. I'd measured everything, I knew where everything was going to go, so it made things an awful lot easier when we had the movers in, and I could be yeah mate, can you please put these things up here, those things there, perfect, thanks. But as you can tell, basically all of this that I've said, it comes down to organisation, thinking ahead, planning ahead, and being prepared for all of it makes it an awful lot easier. I mean, people were saying how terribly stressful moving was going to be, and it was. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but it wasn't maybe as bad as people made out. But then we're only a couple of people into a small place. If you're doing a full-on house and you've got children and all of that, I could definitely see that being a lot more stressful. But maybe that's more's the point of why, if you're going to be doing that, you want to get even more organised, because it made our lives a lot easier. One of the most important things for us anyway, because we needed to work from home and obviously the stuff we need to do, but also just for entertainment, if you don't watch TV, is get your internet sorted out as soon as you can. It makes, searching for stuff, grabbing bits on Amazon if you need, or wherever you buy stuff from if you're buying online. It makes it a lot easier if you have a data issue or a signal issue, because you don't necessarily know what your signal's going to be like. Now for us, we went from a place with absolutely no signal to a really good signal, which is great. But I still use Wi-Fi calling because it's more reliable. Squidgy. Another really helpful thing is if you can, don't fill up every room with every box that needs to go in there. If you can stack up your living room with most of the boxes and then unpack into rooms rather than trying to work around boxes that are in there, because it gets so much more complicated when you've got all these boxes in the way and you can't put stuff down because stuff's in the way. And that was one of the things we did, was we literally put everything in the lounge, which meant we had no lounge. But it meant that when we moved everything into the other rooms, it got an awful lot easier. Another one, if you're moving into a rented property, is take pictures of every single scuff, dent, hole, mark, bit of damage, everything and anything that is pre-damaged in that property. So when it comes to you leaving at some point in the future, and there's questions of, they do the check and go, oh, what about this damage? You can be like, excuse me, that was there. We have time-stamped and dated images from when we moved in. Obviously, the people, the agents, normally do this for you beforehand. You do need to check what they've got down, because they missed loads of stuff on ours. And we were like, yeah, what about this? There was even bits that were like, oh, this is in perfectly good condition. The kitchen floor was in perfect condition. No, it wasn't. The lino's got a few cuts and scrapes in places that, when it comes to the end, they might be like, oh, well, now you're on the line for a kitchen floor. And it's like, well, no, because you just missed that. So there you go. There are my top tips for moving. I've only done it twice in my entire life. The first time was when I was 6. But this is the way I am mentally. I think about things a lot, and I plan stuff out the best I possibly can. It just comes down to those 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. Is that 5? Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. That's 6 P's. It's the 6 P's. I thought it was 5 P's. Is piss poor one word? That's something I didn't think I'd be questioning today. Is piss poor one word? If there's anything I've missed from this, whack them in the comments. It'd be helpful for other people if they're about to move, or you're going to do it in the future. Keep these things in mind. It will save you an awful lot of strife. There you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like it if you found it interesting or useful. Subscribe if you're new here. I'd really appreciate it. And a massive thanks to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members who make this entire channel possible. Until the next one, bye bye.